Hey everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host Anne, with no disembodied voice Justin, because he abandoned us this morning to drive to work. It's Casual Friday. So I'm wearing my Yosemite shirt instead of, the Reaper Pro shirt. How's it going, guys? The reason I'm a little late is that I stopped to do some stretches. So the back is better. The body has recovered from its explosion, implosion, perhaps, on Wednesday night. Officially in the freezer. Oh, yeah. I hate that twisted home. I feel so sad for the trees when that happens. I love trees. Hey, Roger, how's it going? Indeedy. Iggy, haven't seen you in a while, indeed. Just at 30. Yeah, it's a little warmer out here, obviously, since we stole all the good climate in California. Let me see here. Where are we? Oh, it's Ice Apocalypse in Texas, huh, D. Clearman? Oh, I remember those days. Yeah, like, fingers crossed, like, double crossed Kernico, thumbs crossed, too. That's the ultimate cross there. That all of my efforts with rehab exercises have paid dividends. I did feel a lot better when I woke up this morning, so we're still going to be careful today because we don't want to be, we don't want to be hasty. Carpal tunnel is something I actually almost got a long time ago. And Erin Lovejoy turned me on to a book full of physical therapy exercises that actually cured it. I haven't had it since. Like, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to paint. It was that bad. Like, my hands would go numb. Because I just did not want surgery. But it turns out that a lot of carpal tunnel is just skeletal muscular or imbalance. So if you can correct your posture and your and just the way you are, your body tends to lock, then you can do it. And then I asked when I had actual physical therapy after my back went out, I asked my therapist actually about the book that Erin had recommended to me. And she said it actually had a very good reputation in PT circles. It's called Pain Free. And the last guy's name is Egoscue. Pete Egoscue, I think. He talks a lot about pretty much his story is that everything that we do to our bodies is why we're having so many issues. And our bodies are actually not meant to break down like they are breaking down. But whatever his talk, his stuff works. Like I said, I haven't had any carpal tunnel issues for, it's got to be a decade now. I don't know, Miss Red. I haven't read, he has back exercises, but I'm not sure how well that would work. Most of his stuff is meant to correct, the fact that we're in chairs all the time, right? All the carpal tunnel and repetitive stress disorders that we get. And even the fact that a lot of people's heads are kind of tilted forward, like we're not standing properly, foot pain, knee pain, hip pain, all that stuff, lower back. So, Egoscue. Yes. That one's Sifiroko. That's the one that Erin Lovejoy recommended to me. He recommended it to me because his mom had carpal tunnel and had used that book to not have it anymore. So he's like, the exercises will make you feel silly sometimes because I always thought they looked silly, but they worked for her. And so I tried it and they worked for me. So yeah. And a lot of the exercises that he has in there, some of them are yoga exercises, some are borrowed from Pilates, and some are borrowed from physical therapy. So, it's got good cred. Ice Apocalypse, huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry I won't be there. Yeah, you're not going to drive in that crap. I remember driving in the Ice Apocalypse. I think we desperately needed groceries. It had been 3 days of Ice Apocalypse, so it was starting to thaw. Even then, it was really slick on some parts of the road. All right, let's grab our happy colors. Today is Happy Colors Day. Happy Colors, which is tropical blue. We can sing. It's no singing at Paint Club, but I'm no longer at Paint Club, so... Let's see here. Need our happy green, which is actually a happy teal, which is actually a happy glow. Oh, I haven't heard of that one, Inara. I will look it up. I will, let me make a note right now. And is that also kind of like a realignment program, Inara? What's it like? I'm sure there's lots of books that address this sort of thing because all of us are suffering. Trigger Point Therapy Workbook. I am always up for something to add to my routine. Although lately I'm starting to just add in the yoga stretches, like various yoga stretches, since I don't want to risk the more strenuous yoga. So yoga warm-up stuff pretty much is what I'm adding into some of my PT. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Like weak cores, right, Sam? Yeah. Like I've been doing a lot of kind of back bend exercises lately just because it's like the opposite of the slump, right? Like doing the kind of the reach over the ceiling things. And that seems to really help actually. So, yeah. Yeah, it's like I knew I had a terrible weak core, and that's why my back is, screwed. So, that's why I wanted to start the yoga. But it seems like I'm just going to have to start very low key with yoga and slowly work in some of the more strenuous stretches, which makes sense, right? You've got to build up some core strength to do the bigger stretches safely. So, and I wish that yoga, like I know David says in-person classes, they do. Yeah, exactly. David says in-person classes are better because we've been using YouTube because we have nothing else, obviously, during COVID, right? And the instructor is really good at kind of saying, hey, this is a modified move. This is where you could use some extra support if you're not flexible, stuff like that. But it's still not as good as having an in-person instructor who can kind of work with you, is what David says. Because he used to go to yoga classes with his mom. All right, we need magenta. Actually, we need runic glow, which is the magenta light. And then we need our shading colors for all of this, which, if you remember last time, we don't have that much more to work on with these guys, actually. We need to do NMM Gold today, too, so maybe we should start with that and then tweak our stuff. But I'll set you up with our shadows and highlights for our bright colors first. Let me get out here. Get out. And I think we'll use cyan blue for our tropical blue. Oh, that's an ultramarine. Ultramarine and cyan do look very much the same from the top. Oh, I bet I have my cyan over somewhere around here because it's not showing up right away. Where did you go, cyan blue? Oh, you. It's hiding. Ah, it was hiding right at the front because I use it all the time. Right. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty optimistic here, Rax. Pretty optimistic. Fingers crossed, like I said at the beginning of stream. Let's hope that I don't do something to screw it up. I'm being very careful, but I am also not stopping exercising and stretching because that would be the exercising and stretching, especially, I've got to say, the stretching before the stream is making a huge difference. Like doing morning stretches specifically seems to be making a huge difference. Yeah, Kroniko, I used to do DDR, but only do it in the comfort of my own home. For the same reason. I like DDR, but I never got good enough to get beyond. Like I could do some songs on hard mode, but that was only on a very good day. And I could never do like the expert or master or whatever the top level was. John Bono could, Amy Brem, for those of you who remember Amy when she was painting. They were pros. I was not. I did enjoy DDR. All right, so there's our colors. So we started with very pastel, and we're shading with darker versions of the same color, which, as I mentioned last time, is not what I usually do. When you want a very realistic color, hold on, I'm crooked. I don't want to be crooked here. There, it's better. I keep trying to figure out, because my little paper tends to slide, and so it's like, there we go. Extended lumbar warranty. Yeah. My parents totally missed that when I came out. But anyway, so I don't normally use darker versions of the same color, even though our triad system is set up to start you out that way. It's set up to start you out that way because that's the way that people think. Like intuitively, we reach for a darker version of the same color. And there's a reason for that, right? Is that that's how shadows start, right? They start out by adding just like a grayed out color or a bluish gray color to the surface color of our shirt. And so it looks like a darker version of the same color, when actually it's a grayed out darker version of the same color. So when I say that I don't usually use darker versions of the same color, when I'm looking for naturalistic effects, is because the shadow would technically be a slightly grayer, darker version of Phantom Glow. If I was, not a bright version, you wouldn't have a very saturated shadow. But again, this is all like up for grabs, right? Because you do get saturated shadows in nature, and usually you do when there's a lot of warm light bouncing up back from the environment. So if you are standing in the middle of like warm golden sand, like on a beach, and you've got hot sun coming down on you, your shadows will be very warm because all that golden light from the sand is coming back up at you from underneath. So that's where you get very warm shadows, where you can get more saturated shadows. So it depends on the light. And this is where, like we don't talk about it a lot in American miniature painting. We don't think about it a lot. We simplify it, but then, and I love simplifying it to begin with, don't get me wrong. But then after we simplify it, we have a hard time like talking about the more like realistic way. Like, this is how light actually works. This is how you can change your thinking, right? Instead, we dive into things like NMM, and it's this huge learning curve because we've never been taught to think about light before. And I think that's where maybe the European painters have us, because a lot of their people, like Alfonso and Sergio and all of them, they are teaching more advanced students, but they're also just jumping you in off the deep end, right? They're like, they aren't teaching down to you, right? They are like going to go, oh no, let's do this, let's do this. And here's how to break it down. So I kind of feel like maybe I should turn my abilities to like kind of teaching like a very basic way of how you should deal with light, as a beginning painter. So I don't know how to do it yet, but I think that might be one of my classes coming up. Because yes, lots of people teach it, but they often teach it from a more advanced perspective. And I think there's got to be a building blocks way to do it. Hey, Sidney, how's it going? Oh, yeah. Cats love to interfere with DDR. I thought that was like the cat's national sport. Oh, did we raid you? Good. I am doing a bit better, Sidney. I'm gonna totally, I hope you're doing okay. But yeah, my back's been giving me crazies. So today is a pretty good day, which is good because I wanted to tell you guys, actually, since Justin is not here, Reaper has Monday off. Some streams will probably still go, but I asked that my stream not go because I thought I would take advantage of the long weekend to really rest my back and really try to rebuild. Because now that I'm back on the upswing, I want to kind of not do stupid. So I was thinking that less time in this chair would help me to kind of relax and build up more strength. And then on Tuesday, we can hit it running. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, technically part-time Reaper employees don't usually get the holiday. Like, that's a full-time employee benefit. But I'm an ex-full-timer, so I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, like piano lessons used to be. No grace notes and slow steps back in the 1800s to mid-1900s. Yeah. No giant notes, yeah. Yeah, so exactly, Francis. Like, you guys know that I like to break stuff down. I like to, like, break it down into the simplest form that I possibly can, because I feel like you've got to make it accessible, right, when you teach a subject. And lighting is an intimidating subject. Just like color theory, lighting is an intimidating subject for a lot of people. So if I can break that down, if I can give people simple steps in a simple format to start thinking about that, just to start thinking about it, then that opens a door for people, right? If I can just shine a light on that, that's kind of a good goal. So yeah. All right, so here we are. I'm in the chair, and I've got this good dancing girl, and we've got these colors, but I've realized that I really need to get the NMM blocked in on this, and I have NMM colors right in front of me because I was doing a little bit yesterday. Oh, I should show you, those of you who didn't catch my personal stream yesterday, this is a Reaper figure, so I can show it on the stream. Not that I ever let that stop me before for some other models, but Zari is looking really good. Hold on, let me get her zoomed and focused. There we go. So those who remember this Bard model, this is Isabel and Rufus, but it's actually Zari and Staccato in our game. And she is getting really close to done, and Staccato's getting close to done. So even her backside is looking really good right now. She's pretty tight. We started on the gold NMM. But the pants are awesome. But yeah, so this is our version She's going to stay with me. I really like her, and I would never send Ron my version of Kiri, my tribute to Kiri. But I probably will send Reaper pictures if they'd like to use them. So, but yeah. So that's how they turned out. We were working on gold NMM with Zari yesterday, so I still have all the colors out. I neglected to put them away. So let's just go for that. Let us just jump in and do tiny NMM, because this is really tiny NMM. It's these little tiny flowers that are on her hairband and on her waist, and the little lines on her bikini, and the tiny bracelets and all that stuff. Well, that's exactly it, right? Right, Kerniko, is that when you've got a bard figure, especially one as outlandishly costumed as this, you just have that opportunity to go to the nines, and so you should. Like, Zari really likes really pretty clothes. They help her feel confident. Like, so fancy clothes help her feel confident, and she is also in disguise right now. So she has cut her hair and is wearing outrageous clothing so that people look at it and not at her. Yeah, Kiri baby must stay with me. David said he could totally tell it was Kiri yesterday when he was looking at her. Alrighty, so I'm getting out some brown liner because I'm probably, these are so small that I'm going to need to do kind of micro shadows, and brown liner is kind of my choice for that. Whereas normally on bigger NMM, I might use ruddy leather, I might use, russet brown, and then I would blend down to something like blackened brown. For tiny little stuff like this, you need to get dark, and you need to get dark fast, and so I often will just use liner. Yeah, it is Twisted Omo. We got gold on the thing when I was working on the metallic dwarf. It's Dwarven gold, actually. But I kind of like it, so I'm keeping it here, even though it goes back. I go back and forth on whether it's annoying me or whether I like it. But yes, we have gold on my my backdrop right now. But I have infinite sheets. Well, not infinite sheets, but I have many sheets of this backdrop paper. So I will just switch it out. But I had just put a fresh sheet down, and that's why I'm resisting. I should probably just flip it. All right, so we're using our rich leather as our base, which is what that base color is. We're using brown liner 9064 because we need to get dark fast, and brown liner will essentially allow us to do that. The liners, because they go translucent so quickly, they're good for blending in small areas when you need a shadow to go dark fast, but you also need kind of a blend on it. You can do that with brown liner. And then I'm going to put 1 drop of water into the gold. I mean, I don't need that so much anymore. It can be distracting, so we'll see. Eventually, I'll switch the paper out when this paper gets all wrinkly and like has bunches of other marks on it. Usually that takes a week to work up, though. I do like just this gray construction paper because it gives her colors on camera are very close to her colors in person, that's why backdrop is so freaking important when you're filming stuff like this. Now we're using NMM Gold Highlight, and then we're going to do 1. All right. There we go. Okay, so NMM base here. Hold on. Gotta get 1 drop of that. Oh, not 1 drop of that. 1 drop of that. Alrighty. Hello, Anki. NMM progression. Okay, so brown liner. Rich leather, which was our base coat. Rich leather 9429. 3 drops or 4 drops of NMM Gold highlight with 1 drop of rich leather. 1 drop of NMM Gold highlight with 3 drops of pure white. Straight up 4 drops of pure white. Progression. Now, I like a yellow gold. Y'all know that. So we're going to take a very, very yellow. And we're going to drop to this, and this. Everything except for our darkest shadow and our lightest highlight, which stays pure white because Non-metallic metal must go to pure white. Always. No exceptions. All right, then water. Oh, wrong water. This water. At least 2 drops to start out, putting us at somewhere between a 3-to-1 and 2-to-1 paint to water. Actually, for the pure white, we're going to go straight up to 1-to-1. Looks like eggs. Yes. I'm going to start here. Mix it all up. Now, what this does, I'm not using NMM Gold Midtone, NMM Gold Base, but this color is very close to it. It is a little lighter. It is a little yellower. So just that. It's the preference that I've built up. The NMM Gold Base is still a very good color, and like I say, it is close to what I use. But since I've started to shift toward yellower NMM, I've shifted away from the ochre-y tone a bit, so this is very yellow. But if you look at pure gold, it does have a very yellow highlight. Very, very, very yellow. Extremely yellow. And mix, 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 mix. So our white is 1-to-1, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Our white can take up to 2.5-to-1. Or sorry, 1 to 2.5, I should say. Paint to water. So 2.5 times the amount of paint, and our white will stand up. All right, I can actually put on my glasses finally. Oh, I didn't mix up my brown liner. That's no good. It's 4 drops of brown liner, 1 drop of water. And I may need to go a little bit thinner. We'll see how well it comes off the brush. This is going to give me a pretty dark line, which I want because I'm doing really fine detail. So I want to be able to do a really fine dark line. Now, the more I thin the brown liner, the less dark these lines will be. The more they'll kind of blend in and look like a natural shadow, which is what you kind of want on a 28mm usually, but this is a pretty cartoony one. Depends on the mineral content of the gold racks. And it also depends on what the gold is reflecting in the environment. If there are dark objects around the gold, it will appear green because you've got that black gold, the black yellow interaction. So any gray or black or dark in the environment tends to reflect greenish. And if you've got your gold under a non-natural light source, fluorescent lights tend to shift green. So depends on what lights you are. And the LEDs, of course, can vary across temperature widely. So gold is one of those really chameleon metals that really changes depending on the lighting and what's around it. It's really unique that way. The way light bends around gold is unique. This is why it is used in things like space helmets. So I'm going to start out just kind of highlighting those little details on our waist. Let me get close. Oh, that's cool. But yeah, like if you look at Egyptian gold though, it's got, and it may be because of other mineral contents, but a lot of Egyptian gold is almost looks reddish. So, all right, so these are kind of, they're flat, but they're circular. So I'm going to have like a lot of highlight up top, not as much highlight down below. I will have an under reflection. I'm going to need to put some shadow in here. The shadow band is going to be kind of around the middle in a very general way. Yeah, good luck with that. So I'm going to outline Notice how that brown liner is really, really dark. So now I have to ask myself, is that the amount of contrast I want, or do I want to thin my brown liner a little bit? I can always work it up in increments. So I think I will add one more drop, bringing my brown liner to about a 2-to-1 paint to water, which is going to very much impact how dark that is. It's going to be a lot lighter of a stripe now. So I'm going to have to try that and see if I like it. It's a Canadian mint. Yeah, gotcha. Alrighty. So now we got to get, again, we're having very thin brush, very thin paint, very little paint on the brush. You can see how little I have on my brush. Remember to unload your brush so that you have control of the paint. Now I want to kind of shade a bit in between these. Now I do need to highlight that center stud also. I think it'd be kind of hard to, I don't know, I guess you could find somewhere that would liquidate a hot gold bar. If you actually did steal it. Seems like the sort of thing it's hard to find a buyer for, but I guess if you stole it, you probably know where to sell it. So this is a weird NMM shading situation because we normally would have like a light and then a shadow and then an under reflection, but with this area, it's so segmented up that we end up highlighting each individual little thing. And it doesn't give us the opportunity to do much of that shadow highlight under, or highlight shadow under reflection. What I am going to do is echo that on the outside of this surface. So normally we would have a bit of a shadow here, a bit of a shadow over here, and a bit of an under reflection. And I think I'm going to... You could line all of these little details, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to try to keep my shadow toward the horizon line. And do it that way. And leave my rich gold to be my lining around my highlight. Hey, Crows and Bones, sup? We were talking about gold bars and where you can find one to hold if you really want to hold a gold bar. I'm okay with not holding a gold bar. David bought me a necklace with tiny little like pure gold nuggets on it. It's of trees. It's my favorite necklace. It has it's of trees in the fall, and the leaves are little tiny, infinitesimally small gold nuggets. And so that is the only gold I really need to get close to. I'm close enough to gold there. They are teensy though, because they're leaves on a little necklace. I need pure white. 400 troy ounces. I'm going to get some pure white here and see if my white is strong enough. It needs to be able to hit the top of each of these little guys. Might be a little bit too thin. It's always a hard, when you thin it this much, you can get really fine results, but sometimes it won't pop quite as much as you want it to. So, I don't know, I might add one more drop of pure white. Take it a little bit back away from the 1-to-1. Make it a little stronger. It's a little watery. The other thing that I probably need to do, since I am working with very thin paint at this point, whenever you're working around 1-to-1, consider switching to a smaller brush if you're using one of these big guys. Because the more watery the paint gets, the harder it is to control. Even with a big brush with a fine tip like this, the mix is just going to want to soak up into all this area it's got. So switching to a smaller brush when you're working with paint that is this thin is a good idea. So let's go to the triple Triple Lot Da Vinci Maestro, Series 10, size 000. We'll go to the Teensy Brush, the teensiest brush I use. Oh boy, my Da Vinci does need actually cleaning. Well, it is an older Da Vinci. I have been abusing it for a couple of years, I think. Alrighty. So now let's try our white. It's a tiny bit thicker. Going to be a smaller brush. We're still only going to dip about 1/3 to 1/2 of the brush in the paint. So we're still keeping micro control here. And I'm going to see if I can lighten up this upper edge. A tiny brush like this gets less mileage. See how I got that upper rim kind of in there. I'm going to put a darker shadow behind it. I lost my lining on the outside of the gold there. Hey, Farisian, how's it going? But you lose your mileage with these tiny brushes when you start using thicker paint. So remember, thin brush, thin paint, but tiny brush for very thin paint. So put a little bit of an extra line. You can see how fine that is. Or on the outside of this, kind of reinforced it. I kind of lost it when I was painting. You can see how I kind of lost the lining on this. And lining for something this tiny really is, if you want to bring these details out, it is necessary. And this is painting on the exhale, so I'm going to not hold my breath. I'm going to either let my breath out and hold it, or I'm going to exhale slowly as I paint the fine detail so that I don't shake. I tend to do the exhale. Some people do the exhale and hold. Either way, never suck in your breath and hold it when you are trying to paint fine details. You will shake. Or you will at least predispose yourself to shake. How about that? I would say these little guys are very atypical NMM because they are such... For one thing, they're at this scale, 28 millimeter. And for another thing, they are, as I mentioned, very broken up. They have a lot of tiny detail. I am just not getting quite the line I want up there. I'm sure there are people who could hold 30 pounds or 40 pounds even at arm's length, but they're not common in the US. Most of us are out of shape. There we go, much better. Now I've got that solid line. Excellent, Smithers. Take a note. So that's coming out. And this one is slightly different up here. It has a large medallion in the middle and then tiny dot details around it, which normally is the kind of thing that makes me want to go, what were you thinking, to the sculptors? Because if I'm having trouble painting this, how are you guys painting it? There does come a point when fine detail is too much fine detail. Gonna grab some of my rich leather again. I'm gonna actually paint in this little droplet. I thought about doing a color instead of gold on the little jewelry droplets here, but it's too small to really do white, like a pearl. So I'm gonna do it as a gold bangle instead. When you have a tiny little detail like this, it's very hard to introduce a color to it. Unless it's just, you pretty much have 2 dabs and that's it. And then you filled up the tiny little, the tiny little teardrop shape. So you have a very small opportunity to suggest color. So if you try to do pure white, it's just not going to work. It's going to look like you missed it and it's white primer. Hey, Motor City Race, 17 months. We're doing tiny little jewelry on our dancing girl. Boop. All right. So I'm okay with that one right now. I feel like maybe I need a little bit more. Thanks, Motor City. Or I should say thank you, Ray. It's much easier than saying Motor City. She is coming along. She's one of the simpler models we've done, but she has her own little idiosyncrasies, like this tiny detailed jewelry. There we go. Now we got more of white. Switch to the tiny brush so I could get higher highlights and make things pop a little bit more. Hey, Frisian, thank you. 14 months. Hey, Val, how's it going? Trying to do just little bits of white highlights on this on these little jewelry bits to make them come out. A lot of light up top, less light down the middle. I'm a little bit unhappy with how dark the center is. Hey, Carrie Michael. Wow, you guys have touched off a resub streak here. 8 months. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for the support. Justin said he and John and everybody were working on kind of a new thing to count like subs toward like fun stuff, but I haven't heard anything recently. Next time we have a disembodied voice, I'll ask him. Because we used to like lead up to the AMAs with the number of subs we resub, but now instead I think Justin and John were working on a different thing that would give more rewards, so we'll see how that works. I just haven't heard anything for a while, so there we are. That's a little bit better. I lightened up the shadow in the middle. It was a little bit too dark for me, and the little flower shape is coming out very nicely. It's very difficult to do something that looks really shiny when you've got all these tiny little areas, because you really can't go in and highlight and shade each one, which is what it would be more like in real life. Instead, you have to kind of generalize and hope you get the colors. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of a lighter gold with my rich leather up top. Don't want to lose the yellow. And then it needs to stay dark enough that these little facets pick up light, but I need it to still look gold. It's a tough thing. And it's a lot of little titchy detail. So in general, though, just remember to have some kind of reflection underneath on that lower edge. You don't want you never take the under reflection up to pure white. It should always just be a light, like a highlight color. It's not pure white, but up top should be pure white. So maybe I need a hotter hit up there. Well, this is very weird NMM, Crows and Bones. But yeah, the more you hear me talk about it and the more surfaces you see me demo it on, the more it may make sense. But generally, what it is you have your highest highlight. Right under it, you have a dark shadow, which is close to, usually it mimics the horizon line, but most people, it can also just be the point where the light drops off the side of the item. So like if light falls. Boop. NMM, in a nutshell. You have a curved surface. You have an angled surface. Flirk. Light is falling straight down. This whole area will be light. 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 Lighter. This area, right where it starts to curve away, is, if the light is white, white. And it needs to be white usually. This area, shadow. This area, under reflection. Let's move this up. So think about light as falling off of surfaces. Like it teeters on the edge and then it falls off, right? Because it's going straight down. It's going to miss all this stuff. But it doesn't totally miss it because it hits the ground, which is down here. There. So light falls down. It illuminates all upward facing surfaces. It culminates on this edge here for a reason, because your eye is over here. So essentially the eye of the viewer directed at it, if you're looking at the surface from this direction, the minute the light kind of hits the angle where it's like a mirror, where the metal surface is like a mirror, it's bouncing that light at your eyes. And this is usually what that is. Unless you're up here, right? It depends on where you're, but if you assume that the metal is at your eye level or slightly below it, this is the area where you're going to get that angle where it reflects like a mirror at your eye. And that's why that is where your highlight goes. Right under that is almost always a dark shadow because there's no light here. But as the metal surface travels down and is closer to an undersurface that will reflect light back up, boing, 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 boing. And that surface can be anything from a sleeve under a shoulder guard to the ground under a shin guard. Or it could be stuff coming from the environment around it. Yeah. So then light bounces up. So then as you get lower down, it gets lighter. And you get that under reflection. But the light, the under reflection is always going to be stronger here than it is right under here. So you're always going to get that dark shadow. In Sky Earth NMM, that dark shadow is called Sky Earth for a reason. In Sky Earth, thus, the area that will be light is actually blue because it's reflecting the sky, because it's like a mirror. This is like a mirrored surface. And the white then goes up to, you know, the edge where it drops off. And then this line underneath here is usually a horizon line. It usually reflects the direct horizon and will reflect color even if the metal is a neutral color, which this silver is. So I have not added in my earth color yet to my shadows here. I'm just blocking in the top. But this, so Sky Earth NMM is simply the extreme version. And some reflected light will come up under the kitty's nose and to its under muzzle from the surrounding area. And under reflection will have color in it. Like here, this sleeve is going to be red. So the under reflection here on this mirror type of steel is going to be magical armor, is going to be red also. So the extreme version of NMM is Sky Earth, where the shadow is the horizon. Sit, stay model. Yes, physics. And you know why physics? Because light. Metal is all about light, Royal Llama. Anyway. You know, if Twitch wants to decide that I am, like, not drawing light and I should have used X's instead of circles, deal with it, Twitch. Deal with it. Yeah, I mean, take the Sky Earth NMM. I just gave you the technical side, though, Zeke. Like, that it really is that simple. Just break it down. Like, anything else is just icing. The basics are this. Anything else is just icing. But if you can just remember this, that's how I'm getting through that lion head. I've done Sky Earth on exactly one thing in my entire life as a painter. And that's over 3 decades. Because normally I feel like it belongs more in sci-fi than it does in fantasy, and I paint a lot of fantasy. But since that's plainly magical Templar armor, I'm cool with it, and I really want to do it on that lion. But what it means I'm doing is, on every one of those feathers on that lion, I am imagining this model, and I'm applying this model, so that I am painting it the correct color for how it's positioned. So... and it may take you time. You should take time. You should think about each area of the armor when you're doing it and think about, well, how would the light be on this? And if you need to grab like some tinfoil or something to like kind of make a metal object that's roughly shaped correctly to give you an idea, do it. The other thing you can do... Thanks, cool. You get the gold star for the day. Yeah. Well, I did start painting when I was 9, but I don't really count that in my experience arc. If I counted that, then I would be pretty horrified. But yes. So, but anyway, like this is really the easy. This is like the basis of all NMM is light physics and geometry. So it's pretty intuitive, right? Anything that's pointed toward the light is lighter, you know? Where the light slides down the edge and drops off of it, right under that you have a shadow. But right before it drops off, it bounces at your eyes. So it's boing. And then as the closer you are to the ground or to another surface, the more the light's going to hit that and go boing. Unless it's like black. Then you're going to get like, you won't get as much boing. You'll get black reflection. So it's actually a very intuitive, but it's like a lot of people don't really teach it that way. So there's, and obviously Sky Earth is really complicated because of all the reflectiveness, because it's mirrors, right? But if you just keep those basic light physics in mind, you will do mostly pretty good. Like at that point, the icing is that light will balance and curve. It's going to reflect the shape of the object you're painting. So that's the next mental hurdle that you have to get over, is that a rounded surface will have a rounded highlight and a rounded shadow. Whereas a straight angled surface is going to have more straight up, what we're used to painting, linear. But you've got to reflect volume at that point in your highlights and shadows. Very much so. And sometimes that sharp edge shadow on a curved surface looks so weird, and you're just like, ee! So yeah. But just try it. I mean, try it. Keep those basic principles in mind. And what it will do, hopefully, Zeke, is it will break open your brain a little bit. So maybe you don't come out of it with full understanding of Sky Earth, but maybe you come out of it. In fact, almost certainly you will come out of it if you keep those rules in mind. Almost certainly you will come out of it with a better understanding of how light works. And that will make your NMM better. It'll also make any glowing effects you try to do better. It should. Like, understanding light is key to OSL, other source lighting, and NMM, non-metallic metal. And now we have pontificated and not painted. Thanks, Achilles. She's okay. She's, out of all the models that I'm painting right now, she's really not my favorite. Like, she's like way down toward the bottom, I guess. Hey, she's all right. I like her colors. But she is a very simple model. And I'm not a big fan of pale skin tones. Like, I do them. I think they're a little bit hard to do well. I think when you see a really good pale skin tone, like, don't underestimate the amount of work that it took to make that pale skin tone look good. It's hard to paint pale skin tones. I find dark skin tones a lot easier than pale skin tones to paint. Oh, it sounds like David is back from the grocery store. Food, yay, food. So I am making, I guess it's like Moroccan recipe, lamb shanks tonight. One of my favorite new recipes that I've recently discovered. We are doing it in the Instant Pot. It's so good. It's got like cinnamon and cumin in it. It's just a fantastic spice blend. It's almost Indian, but it deviates from Indian just a little bit. Yeah, you're right. It's stretch break time. Thanks, Crowley. Freehand stuff. At first I thought I might have this model, but she's just too small. I don't currently have a freehand model. I may do something for my my Patreon soon, though. I've been doing freehand for the Patreon. Pardon me. Stretch break. Stretch break, everybody. Stand up and stretch. I've been doing a lot of freehand for my stream lately. My Patreon lately. I just did books. I did how to do cool books on that model. So I've been doing a lot of freehand on the Patreon, and maybe that's why I haven't done a lot on this stream. Lamb is completely underrated as a protein. I did not eat it for the first 40 years of my life, Neo Show, and then I was introduced to it in a lamb stew, Moroccan lamb stew, and I fell utterly in love. Which is highly ironic because my sister-in-law's family are all sheep farmers. All right, so stretches. Stretches. Do your stretches, everybody. Hands over your head. Gentle stretch. Always stretch gently. If it hurts, it's too much. Back off of it. But I like doing the kind of back bend with my hands up because it breaks me out of the box. And by the box, we mean the box that we sit in all the time. The box is like, here is the box. It's where our body is curved into all the time. Break out of the box. Interesting. I've never tried coffee-basted lamb. I'll have to look that up. I tend to really like lamb in Indian food and in African food. So I'm doing a lot. I got the most luscious Indian cookbook ever yesterday. I had an Instant Pot Indian cookbook done by one of the top chefs, and I really liked the recipes, so I bought a bigger regional Indian cookbook. Not an Instant Pot one, but it's not like you can't adapt it. But oh my gosh, it's so amazing, the photography and all the recipes. I want to cook it all. Oh, thank you! Thank you, Filkster! Yes, it is good for blending practice, definitely, especially on the cloth. It's good for blending practice, and it's got the opportunity for transparent cloth on the legs, like I did here, and on the torso. So yes, she's a nice mini. She's a very simple paint. She's almost done. Pretty soon we have to figure out how to base her. Hey, Bob and Julie, better late than never. Yep. I am on the Yosemite Bear T-shirt day for sure. It is... Wait, Chibi Amy. Let's totally diverge toward food for a second. One moment. I will hold it up on my face cam. On face cam, you will see it. It is the complete Indian regional cookbook. It is gorgeous. It has beautiful, amazing photography. Tons of beautiful, amazing photography. If you like Indian food and you want to learn to cook Indian and you've at least taken a few baby steps in that direction, this thing. I can't wait. And I'm so sad that I didn't live anywhere. Like, prior to moving here, I'm going to do my cat cows, guys, and then we'll get back to painting. Yeah, see, I really love it. And everywhere I've lived before, I didn't have, like, Indian restaurants, really. Like, in Wisconsin, no. Out east, not really. And then down in Texas, no. There was a lot of Thai. I found a lot of Thai food in Texas. I didn't find nearly as much Indian. Yay! Yeah. It's just so beautiful. It makes you want to cook instantly. Like, you open it up, you look at the beautiful pictures, and she talks about the different regions and how of India and how the cuisine differs. But boy, so good. I can't wait. I can't wait to crack into this one. Hydrate, everybody. Hydrate. Okay, cat cows. Cow cats, as I call them. Cow cats. And then we will be resuming painting, but stretch break. Anybody who has not stood up and stretched for the last half an hour to an hour, stretch with me. There we go. Okay. So one thing the most recent back trouble has taught me is to always support my core, which is awesome. So I'm getting in that habit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Indian, and what I really like about Indian is that it's very easy to make it dairy-free and gluten-free, on most counts, right? It's super easy to do that with it. And with just a little bit of experimentation, I can also go totally tomato-free on it, which, of course, I have to. Some recipes are naturally tomato-free, except for a little bit of tomato paste. You can just skip it. But others I have to work a little harder at. But I tend to be able to nail the flavor profile if I just mess around a little bit. Oh yeah, scoliosis, no joke, is no joke at all. I'm sorry about that, Crows and Bones. I hope you like find a technique or something that helps you with your back pain too. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today. Like, and as I said, the morning stretches, and also, yeah, I'm doing more yoga now, but I have my Pilates books. I actually was doing a little bit of Pilates before. I do find Pilates a little bit intimidating on many of the moves, though. I found yoga a little bit more accessible. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is get better at yoga and then feel more confident moving into Pilates. Because I tried to do Pilates for many years, but many of the moves were beyond me, or just flat out like, oh my god, like no way. Like, and I do positive thinking as much as I can, but yoga is, for some reason, it's a little easier for me to grok. So I'm going to start with that, and maybe then I can move into my Pilates practice with more confidence. So I do really like a lot of things about Pilates. So I'm not going to give up. I've still got my Pilates books. Yeah, moving at all is a good step. That's why, I mean, I never gave up walking. Like my daily walk is really my thing, that I don't compromise on if I can help it, unless it's pouring rain or, blizzardy snow or, otherwise inclement. I tried to walk every day. Maybe I take one day off a week, but then I always feel sluggish when I take that day off. My parents are both, like super walkers. Like they both walk every day, and they're still both they're in their 70s, and they're in really good shape. I think you're right, Chibi. I think moving is key. Just keep moving. Humans are meant to move. All right, so we're getting this mapped out. I'm just taking my basic highlight. Let's get real close here. You can see the difference. So really, we've just got our base coat. I'm going to go around this actually with a little bit more lining, because I think I eclipsed part of the edge of this amulet. Part of it got painted blue as I get really close to it. Do whatever, Chibi. And however you fit it into your schedule. Like, I was never, even though I have a really good energy in the morning, I was never an early morning person. But if that's the time of day that works for you, just do it. Find something you enjoy. I keep working on David to walk with me. He does not move enough. I can see the boy is going to head for back pain, and I'm like, is headed for back pain. And at least if we can go out and do stuff more often. That's why I'm kind of in a hurry to get my back in shape. I would like to go and start hiking more as the weather gets nicer out here. But back pain and hiking do not go together very well. So I am working on it. Yeah, that's pretty much Twisted Oma. You have nailed. Now David is, he does work on the computer all day, so to be fair. But then he also computer games a lot, so that's a lot of computer time. Yeah, that's really nice, Nomad Zeke. I should start, maybe David would consider doing that, setting an alarm. I have gotten him to get up and stretch, like if he's playing WoW during breaks, to take a break and stretch, which is better. I try to do the same. I wouldn't ask him to do anything that I don't do, so. A break is a break. You're getting out of the box, even if you are creating a bigger box by eating the donut. I can't say that I actually lost weight while eating donuts at one point in my life, but that was because I was exercising a lot. And I also wasn't eating a lot else. So I would have donuts for breakfast because I really wanted donuts, but then I just wouldn't, eat anything else till lunch. I'd have one donut. That was my breakfast. Which is not a healthy breakfast. But I did lose weight. So it is possible to eat jelly donuts or Boston creams, which are my favorite. And that Boston cream was freaking worth it. Even if I couldn't eat anything else for breakfast. Computer potato, yeah. Yeah, the Boston cream donut is my favorite donut. Because I love the chocolate icing and the custard. It's like got the double whammy. So I'm trying to get that edge back in that I lost there briefly. There, bring that edge highlight up. So it's all attention to detail on getting these little jewelry bits, guys. Like, on realizing that there is a slight rim around the design, and that even if you accidentally painted over it earlier, you can reclaim it. It's not gone forever. Yeah, I haven't had a donut for a very long time. David and I do, we've got 2 excellent patisseries near us, and we're lucky. And that's the good thing about living in the city. I've never lived in the city before, and there are some things I do not like about it, but being near to, like, when you can say, we have 2 excellent patisseries in, walking distance, that's ridiculous. But yeah, they have really good desserts, like opera cakes and stuff. And we do splurge and get really tasty desserts every once in a while. And that's kind of donut-like. It's that ultra sweet thing. They have like mini cheesecakes and opera cakes. And they're also pretty too, they're all like done like beautiful little artworks, and then you eat them. Nom nom. So I lost some of my edge here, but that's all right. I can get it back. I'm still working with the tiny brush. Note. Oh yeah, bacon maple long johns. I remember those. Apple fritters, tasty. Yep, all that stuff I used to eat. When I went gluten-free, mostly gluten-free, now I just take little breaks from it. Like every once in a while. But I generally avoid, I don't eat it, like, I don't eat a glutinous thing unless it's really, really good. Like, it has to rationalize. It has to prove itself to me that it is worth breaking diet. So, most run-of-the-mill baked goods and all prepackaged grocery store baked goods are just, like, not worth the calories, not worth the diet break. It has to be really good stuff. Then it's worth it. That's my own personal rule for myself. Because I started noticing, like, when I didn't have that rule, I started noticing I would break diet, and then I would just be disappointed in it. Like, just like, well, that's not as good as I remember it being. Stuff like that. And when I started to have those thoughts, I was like, you really just have to make a quality rule that it is not worth breaking diet, and it is also not worth eating anything gluten-free unless it tastes good. Ah, that went way over the edge there. Blorf! Get some water. Scrub it out. But yeah, so I kind of made a rule that, I made a not worth the calories rule. That's helped me stick to my diet pretty well. There's a lot of food out there that's just kind of junk that isn't actually, like, tasty enough for me to break diet for. When we go out, what I really like is I stay on diet almost 100% until we go out to a really nice restaurant. Like, I miss nice restaurants so much. It's like the other good thing about living like in a city and near a really big city, right? Is that you've got really good restaurants, but of course that's been totally neutralized over the last year or so. Although outdoor dining helps. We did go to our local really, really nice restaurants. Oh yeah, cream puffs are good. Ah, interesting. Bagels are everywhere, but donuts are good donuts are hard to find. Yeah. Well, you could take this opportunity, Dabber, and learn to fry your own donuts. Get essentially awesome at making donuts. This is my way of battling the fact that most restaurants here don't make steak very well. I know how to make steak great myself, so we just have steak at home. Same thing with like things like fajitas. It's like, you go to a restaurant and it's like they're just not as good as the ones we make at home, so we just don't bother going to those restaurants anymore. Tried, failed, and left it behind. Yeah. Well, I'm just one of those people. I really like to cook and bake, and so if I would was in that kind of situation, I would try to figure it out. But if you have already tried it and determined that it is too much work, I do not blame you. At least you tried. Then put some highlights here. That's a shame that it didn't work out, though. Although, I don't really blame you. I mean, I'm somebody who refuses to deep fry because I hate the oil waste. Considering getting an air fryer for those reasons. Especially for some of the... I do shallow pan frying at this point. And just kind of make it work. Like when I do fish tacos and stuff. So I can't blame you on the donuts because I wouldn't be able to do them either, probably. Red velvet cheesecake. Tasty. Oh, whipped cream filled crullers. Dang, you guys. Yeah, I can make cupcakes like a champ, so I make myself my own low carb muffins every week, at least 3 batches. Like that's what I do for breakfast is I make and I do all different flavors. So this week I actually had a banana at the right point of ripeness, so I made myself banana nut low carb muffins. Which, if you only use 1 banana and you are making 5 or 6 muffins out of it, actually is perfectly plausible. Not keto, but low carb. Alrighty, so we got her, notice the bright highlights up top, then we've got a shadow. I probably need to bring up a little bit of highlight toward the center because there is light that falls here. Little bit of highlight. Coming back up here underneath that shadow. And I need to hit this little bit. Like so. Yeah, air fryers are really, my parents have one and they really love it. Yeah, kitchen, hobby desk, and doggo walks, yep. I have to like pet other people's doggos on my doggo walks now, but that's okay. That won't be forever. I don't think it's heresy to make country style ribs in the air fryer, but this is from somebody who makes like actual like baby backs in the oven, not the grill, so not the smoker. But I believe in adapting to your circumstances, and right now I do not have a smoker, nor do I have a place for it, nor do I have the will to have one, so ribs in the oven are where it's going to be. There we are. Got that highlight coming up more. I make chocolate muffins. That's the closest I get to cupcakes. Because in my mind, it's like I really enjoy the chocolate muffin. I don't really need to throw a bunch of unhealthy on it. We don't have real dessert very much, David and I. We normally have we have a lot of really good chocolate around the house. So chocolate is our dessert. Like after dinner, we usually just have a few squares of really good chocolate. Over the holidays, I bake a lot of cookies, but we are now past holidays and into the point where I really want spring to be here. This has been kind of a trashy winter for me because of Kiri's passing, so I am very much looking forward to getting out of this winter. Shoe pastry, yep. Yeah, shoe. The French spelling, I understood what it was. What is my favorite cookie? That's a hard call. I mean, I have the ones that I make. There are 4 that I make, and 3 of them are holiday only, and one of them is chocolate chip, and I make a killer chocolate chip cookie. So if favorite means like when I make it, I can't stop eating them, which is why I make them only once a year or twice a year, then it would have to be the chocolate chip cookies Dragon Pink. But otherwise, over the holidays, I make Danish butter cookies, I make Russian tea cakes, and I make chocolate sugar cookies. And my chocolate sugar cookies taste like Oreos. So they're like awesome Oreos. So I like all of those, which is why I make them every year. Oh, yay, Mega Bundle. Excitement unboxing video, Crows and Bones. I looked at the hobby bundle. Maybe I'll order myself a hobby bundle. Hey guys, I've got a question for you actually on that. I noticed that we're going with hobby holder. Like we've got a sample of the hobby holder miniatures holder in our bundle for the virtual expo. Have any of you guys tried the hobby holder, and what is it like? Like I know GW uses kind of a clamp thing to hold the miniature in, but what does hobby holder use? Like I see that the thing screws in, but I don't see how it holds the miniature in. Do any of you know? Is it blue tack? Okay. Do you love the hobby holder? Okay. Oh, okay. So it's probably a lot like my basic, this guy, the wooden one. Cool. I was looking at their site that had the hobby holder, and I was trying to figure it out yesterday. Okay. Oh, okay. I have cork, but I actually don't like the cork on my holder because it is resistant to the blue tack. Oh, blorf. Too much paint on my brush, guys. Get some water, throw it on. You're fine. It's very easy to blorf when you're working on little tiny stuff like this. Do not sweat it. You could probably use either, Val. Double-sided tape and blue tack are like the two main ways people stick stuff onto blocks and stuff. I mean, obviously I use blue tack a lot on my wooden blocks, or orange tack in this case. This is mostly a mixture of Elmer's, so it has some blue tack in it. Yeah, it's nice because it's comfortable to hold, right? That's the nice thing about that. Yeah, that's true. The cork could do a bust. Yeah, the paint stand looks kind of handy. Like, honestly, I could even use the paint stand because I have enough space at the back of my desk, and I could then put my brown liner, walnut, all the small amount of paint that I keep available at all times. I could just put it on there. It's kind of like what David has on the back of his desk. He has kind of a ceramic, or not ceramic, you know what I mean. That clear material. That I'm good, like, done. My brain is done. Yeah, I mean, that would be cool if Reaper, like, kind of pointed us where to buy those things, because I assume that, that a lot of it, well, the hobby holder for sure is from another company, but I wonder if the paint stand is a repurposed, like, that would be the kind of thing that Sadie would totally know about, because they're probably nail polish holders, right? That would be something that Sadie would totally have sourced, because that's her world. Acrylic, thank you, Mobrock. Yeah, words failed me. Oh, my paint has gotten a little tacky. It's not as fluid as it needs to be. Today, I think, is a good day. Working on a PDF for you guys for the Patreon. Hobby holder is Game Envy. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually what I love on their site, guys, is they make plinths. Like, I'm going to try to order a plinth from them just to see what their quality is like. Because that's what we need in this hobby, is we need somebody who will make custom plinths that are good quality for our display models. Like, oh my gosh, we've needed this for so long, and I was so happy to see that they do it. And they have all sorts of different woods and colors and finishes and shapes. So I was like, awesome. Interesting. Cool, Reaper John. Thanks. You need a drink. Repurposed nail polish holder. That's what I thought, Cornico. Game Envy, Dogfather. The people who do the hobby holder also have plinths on their site. You can essentially just give them your name, your contact, and what you need. Like, sizes and shape, and they give you reference photos in their gallery of what they've, shapes they've done and stuff, and the size you need, and they get back to you with a quote. Yeah, and I see that the hobby holder has an ergonomic handle too. Yeah, I went to look at the hobby holder on their site, and then I saw plinths, and I was like, "Rrr?" My little ears perked up. Because that's something I always have bought extra plinths when I'm at shows where somebody has plinths available, just so I'll have a good selection, so I can usually find a plinth that works with my whatever mini I'm working on. But these days, like, I've got a lot of busts that I need plinths for, and my supply is going to run out pretty quickly. But it'd be so nice to be able to just order exactly this finish, exactly this size, this shape. That would be so lovely. And just pay to have it done. And I don't care if it's a little expensive, because it's not like I finish busts like super frequently. But just to have the option would be so nice. Just trying to get this area to roughly the same level that the other one is here. Now we've got our two little thingies. I just need to lighten up the highlights there. I've got the middle done. We just didn't do the top gold. But that's looking pretty nice. That's good, Clavicus. I'm glad they survived. Sometimes it's dicey. Oh boy, this is going to be fun up at top on here, guys. So this is where we might do a little wash. Maybe we'll do a little wash. We have 4 minutes to do a tiny wash. Let's do a tiny wash. One brushful of brown liner. Reach for the brush on sealer. Shake well. Remember, you want to shake it until the little bead drops off the bottom. This has been shaken recently, so it came off right away, so I'm going to shake it just for a little while longer. Probably going to shake it for about 5 seconds, 6 seconds, because it has been shaken recently. Look at the bottom, see if you can see any kind of residue around the edge. I can see a little bit. Shake it a little bit. Make sure that that residue is mostly in solution. Then put your paints in. Oh, gotta get my pokey tool. And I could use an extra pokey tool too, so maybe I'll order the hobby bundle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 drops of brush on sealer. Ah, 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 ah. And now, 1 drop of water to start with, because I already thinned this brown liner, so I probably don't need 2 drops. Boop. Then grab Mixie brush to stir. Excellent. I'm going to put just a little bit more here. There. So essentially what I'm looking for is something that's going to be dark enough to outline all those little details. New job starts Monday. Grats, Dragon Eye. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see. I'm going to kind of paint a little bit of lighter color. We're looking at this piece over her ear and the other side. And what I want is I want some of these little tiny details to get outlined. So this is my wash. You can see how it's transparent, falls off the side, but when it pools, it's dark. I'm going to actually apply it with my tiny brush, which is unusual, but I want control. So tiny brush when it's full of wash. Just put a big blob down, then clean some of it off your brush. And use your brush to kind of spread it around very gently. You do want it to pool. You have a little bit of time. So this is a rare circumstance where I would use a wash. Mostly because I want to really outline all those little areas. Now I might need to pull some of it off. Pull some of it off the middle, I think. I'm going to try to leave it around all those little tiny micro little pebbles. Let's see if I can get even closer. Get even closer to the wash. See it? See how it's kind of outlining those little tiny bits. See that rim that it's getting. So this is going to let me essentially outline with really dark paint all of these tiny little, let's see if I can get really close and focus. Hold on. See those? See how it's brought all those little details out? All those little tiny little dots around that center section? That's what I wanted. So now if I go in and do a little bit of underpainting for those dots, like just put some light yellow on them, I can highlight those and they'll stand out really well because of that darkness. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Because there's some really tiny detail on here. And it would be really hard to catch it all trying to do it manually. There's also the same little dot thing going on these guys. Now this is darkening down this gold a lot. There we are. All right. Just to bring out, see those little details that are being brought out now? Those little tiny boop, 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 boop dots. So those have now brought these out so that I can see them. And if I can see them, then hypothetically I can hit them for highlighting. So, all right. We do have a little bit of extra time just because I started a little late. So, because stretching, it's important. And we got a little bit of delayed this morning. All right, so let's try. Those little tiny itty bitty little pearly dots are so small that I probably want to just use almost white. Like I want to use my yellow, my bright yellow for them. Maybe for the ones further down on her head, more toward the shadow, I will use the medium color, the next one up. But I want something that's going to be pretty solid. That's going to hit those dots. And this is another one of those paint on the exhale things. It hit those tiny little dots. Technically, there's also an edge behind them. I'll need to deal with that. So this is the fussy, fiddly part of this model. And this is where you may get into issues where you need your paint thick enough for it to make a solid dot the first time, but it also doesn't want to come off your brush as well. So one workaround for that is to take the side of your brush and kind of run it, kind of like almost your side brushing on hair, but kind of run it over that dot. Don't run it across onto other dots, but just that on that one dot. You do risk getting a bit of a dash there when you do that, which I did on this one. Remember, you guys are hugely zoomed in on this, so you can actually see these flaws in person. You can almost not see them at all. I'm pretty much looking at my monitor as much as I'm looking at my actual miniature when I'm trying to clean that up. There it is. Those are still a little bit close together, but that's just the way they are. Good, Crows and Bones. I hope you enjoy it. Let us know, right? Oh, good. Yay, ceramic palette. Remember to use bigger paint puddles, Safaroko. Bigger paint puddles. There we go. That's better. Hey, Chia, what's up? All of my friends are popping in today. It's good to see you all. And everybody who came to my Just Hang Out stream yesterday, thanks. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. It's fun to hang out and paint with you. Now we're starting to get in the rest of that. We have to get that back edge too. Using the medium yellow for this. Yeah, it does work a lot better to thin it more, you're right. That's going to be hard to get that edge back there. Might have to work with a lighter color. There we go. That makes it a little bit easier. So they always give you that silly, what does not kill you makes you stronger quote. But in this case, it is true. If you never try this stuff, if you never try the stuff that's difficult and fine detailed, you're never going to get better at it. So the things that may be scaring you are precisely the things that you should try. Yeah, they're running out. Palettes are running out. Everybody's hobbying at home during the pandemic. And I think it's also that a lot of those ceramic palettes those porcelain mixing trays are made for calligraphy, right? So they're made in like China and Japan and Korea. And we've got that huge shipping glut right now where nothing is moving and shipping is really slow. So I'm sure that's part of why it's becoming very difficult to find the ceramic palettes right now. I'm sure it'll loosen up as we get people vaccinated and shipping loosens a bit. But it may take a little while. So grats to you who have them. Don't worry. Eventually, if you want one, I'm sure you will be able to get one. Cheap Joe's is probably crying because they we're selling a ton of them and because I kept recommending them and then they couldn't get any more. So now we're getting that all done there. Sometimes I do Zito, but not always. Most of my brushes are actually, the brushes I tend to use, the two brands I tend to use are Da Vinci and Raphael. While I was a Reaper staff painter, though, I used the Reaper black-handled brushes, the Kolinsky's, and I used the Aught10 as a 0/10 and the 0/5. So the red-handled brushes on the Reaper website are synthetic. This one is the gold paint has worn off, but you can see the Reaper there. This is a Reaper number 4 flat, and it's got the orange bristles. So these are plastic bristles. That's why I say it's a synthetic. Whereas the black-handled brushes from Reaper are Kolinsky sable, so they're one of the highest grades of sable. And I used to use the black-handled Reaper brushes, the 0/5 and the 0/10 all the time. These guys I moved to a little bit more expensive brand. Mostly because this shape, like the shapes that I was able to get, there's a specific shape of brush that I really like, and it's longer and thinner than most standard brush forms. So I really like brushes with a very long, thin taper. So I ended up going with these brands because they're very long and thin, and not as fat in the belly as a traditional round, most traditional rounds. So Reaper brushes are good, and yes, Aught5, Aught10. I wouldn't go with Aught30. There's definitely a limit on how small I get with my brushes. But yeah, I mean, if I had a couple, I don't have any right now, but if I had a Reaper Aught5 and Aught10, I could use them on this show. They'd be fine. I just prefer my long, tapery, thin brushes. Ta-da! Oh, I have a fatter belly too, Royal Llama. Come on. But I like my brushes skinny. Hey, it's not like my guy has a champion physique either, so. But with brushes, I like my brushes to look like they've been dieting. Oh, good point. Chinese New Year. So big vacation over there. But yeah, I would always endorse Kolinsky Sable over anything else for miniature painting. There are synthetic Kolinskys if you have moral objections to using natural hair brushes. But if you have no objections, then I think it's a no-brainer to use Kolinsky Sable because it's just the best for what we do. There we go. Alrighty. Brush management as far as keeping your brushes nice or what, Zito? If you're using the synthetic brushes, they're always going to go off because they're plastic. Even the really, really high quality ones do bend and curl at the tip inevitably. It's just the function. It's how plastic wears when it's in a brush. Oh no, Cookie Tigress. Also, I love your name. Because cookies and tigers. Yeah, I know. This is my old Da Vinci that I've been using for, it's probably 2 years of use. Yep, this is definitely, that's earlier today on the stream. I even said, oh, that brush actually needs cleaning. But, okay, so here's the dealio, guys. Like, I will probably clean this brush now that I've noticed the paint, but also notice that this is not enough paint to have affected the tip at all. Like, it is still a razor sharp tip. The brush is not having issues. So, that's, I really abuse my brushes, but yeah, that is about as dirty as I let them get. Because if I let it get much more than this, then it will start to affect the tip. And it hasn't been cleaned thus far because it hasn't affected the tip. So, I try not to over clean my brushes. I kind of feel like the natural hairs, the natural oils in the hairs, like I don't want to necessarily apply a cleanser to that and strip them. I could be wrong on that, but they work so well the way I use them, like I don't have problems with them, so. Tend to lose the tip. You wash after use and can use conditioner with the real hair brushes. Yeah, I don't. I am horrible, Zito. I am absolutely terrible. I admit this. This is one of my weaknesses as a painter. I do not ever wash my brushes unless they get to the point here. At which point I will hit them with the Winsor & Newton brush cleaner and restorer, and I will put a little bit of conditioner on them, hair conditioner, and then I'll go back to my usual abuse. But my brushes don't lose their tips. Like they thin, and I've met one other person that this happens to, and both of us rinse our brushes super frequently. Like while we're painting, we rinse compulsively. So here's like the example I always give is that these two brushes on the end are the same brush. The one on the right is a new version. The one on the left is a very worn in version that I've been using for about a year now. So they both still have perfect tips, but you can see that this one has a longer tip and it's much fuller, whereas I've lost some hairs here. Yeah, I rinse all the time. Like almost every time I reload my brush, and I reload my brush a lot because I'm using tiny amounts of paint. So yeah, I mean, pay attention to how much or how little you rinse. It may be tempting to just reload your brush from your paint puddles all the time and use that to kind of refresh your brush. But if you at all notice any tackiness or stickiness or anything like that when you're doing that, just rinse out your brush and reload from scratch. It's a little extra effort, but after a while it just becomes a habit. I do it compulsively. Like I said, I'm always, like when I stop to actually look at how much I rinse my brush, it's like I'm rinsing it after every time I, like, brush full of paint, up, rinse, reload. Rinse, reload. Like, every time I reload my brush, I'm rinsing it. No, because you're squeezing the water out of it. Or, you know, it depends. Like, brush lickers tend to lick their brushes. But, like, so, okay, let me get one of my bigger brushes here. So, all right, here I am. I've got my paint on my brush. Paint, you know, paint. Paint. Oh, it's getting dry. All right, I'm going to rinse. And what I do, some people use a paper towel, but what I do is I do this, Fatherwind. I just squeeze it out in my hand. So I put the brush, and this is just a maneuver. I stopped brush licking a while ago because I just thought it wasn't good for me. So I started to kind of mess around, and I found that I could just pull the brush through my hand and get all the water out. So right now, if you look really closely at it, you'll see Let me see. Let's get close. You can see that there is a slight sheen of water, see? But it is otherwise very dry. Like it's holding a perfect tip. And if I do my fingernail here, can you see water? Not really. Can't really see water. So I know there's dampness in the brush, but that's all there is. So then if I'm just dipping it in the paint again, I'm not adding any water to the paint at all. I can still paint. So that's what I do. Again, it's a friend of mine got cancer and they thought it might have been brush licking. So that kind of influenced me and I stopped brush licking like within a month of that. Yeah, so some people use paper towels, but I don't like necessarily doing, I guess after you rinse your brush, it's fine. At times I used to use my jeans all the time. But then I got that hand trick. Like I trained myself to do the hand trick and now I'm like awesome. Because you want a little bit of water in your brush after you rinse it. Just a tiny bit, right? Because you want it to make that nice tip. You want it to hold together. The other thing is that when you're using a brush with a fine tip like this and you want your paint to come off of it well, having a little bit of extra moisture in the brush is good because it's going to keep the paint wet that you put in there. So this is one of the kind of tips slash secrets to like painting with thinner paint is when you're only dipping about a third of your paint, a third of your brush into the paint in the first place, having a little bit of moisture back here is actually good because it keeps that paint wet so it'll flow off your brush for longer. Weird physics stuff about, loading and unloading your brush. I talk about it a lot, but I don't mind talking about it again because everybody needs to hear it. So yeah, I like to have a little bit of moisture in my brush. And it's different than having like a ton of water in your brush, right? If you put this into your paint, yeah, this is absolutely going to. But if you even do that, you're fine. Dip it in your paint. You're not going to water down your paint. I mean, I'm using a well palette with deep wells with lots of paint, but still. Even if I were using a wet palette, this would not add appreciable fluid. It would add probably enough fluid if I was using a thick paint to, get it to a decent workable consistency. Yeah, rolling maneuver. Yeah, that's good, Safaroko. I think Rhonda uses a damp sponge, which is also a great tip, or a damp paper towel is also a great tip. I learned that in Sergio's class, actually, that he uses damped down paper towels. It's because it'll take the excess water off the brush, but keep moisture in the brush. So, yeah. Yeah, that's nice, Fabrique. Yeah, I know. I used to have streaky jeans. Jennifer Haley and I used to joke. She's another painter. But we were good friends, and we used to joke. She used to joke she had like three stages of wardrobe. She had the clothes that were so ruined they could only be used for painting, the clothes that had paint on them, but that was inconspicuous enough that she felt like she could still wear them every day for everyday use, and then the clothes that were utterly pristine and could never be worn while painting. So yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure, Dragon Pink. Yeah, I know. And I don't wash them. That's the thing. But they will pick up. Over time, they will pick up paint in the ferrule. I mean, like I said, this one's been in use probably for 2 years. So it's never been cleaned. And 2 years later, I need to actually run it through the Winsor Newton brush cleaner. All right, it is 15:15. I have gone over time, actually, of what I've done. I need to stretch out my back. Yeah, exactly, referee. Or yeah, I don't even know if I have like any really paint stained stuff these days. I'm pretty clean when I paint these days. But yes, I hope hello new people, first of all. For those of you who haven't spoken up before and you came to this stream, hi, I'm Anne. I do this stream every morning, 11:30 a.m. Central Time for Reaper Miniatures. So every weekday, I am here. I can answer your questions. I love to talk to people who are newer to the hobby. I love to explain this stuff. I love to break it down. I made Reaper's Master Series paint line. I was the one who created it and made almost all of the colors up until I moved out west, and now I'm doing Reaper streaming. But yeah, welcome. I hope you come back. And it's nice to meet you. Yes. Teals. I don't, it's probably because phthalocyanine is a staining pigment, Dragon Pink. So when you've got a teal, you almost always have phthalocyanine blue and phthalocyanine green for your pigments. Both of those are very staining pigments. So like if you grab a synthetic brush, a Taklon, a white one, and you paint with a teal, it's going to stain it instantly. Phthalocyanine green is horrible for that. So maybe that's why that they say that teal is the worst. But I can't think of any other reason, because usually what you're seeing when you see this discoloration of paint in your ferrule, it's not the pigment at all. It's actually the base. It's the resins from the plastic resins. I need to talk to Justin and ask for a raid. Hold on, we can't leave yet. Where did I put my phone? Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. It's hiding. It's hiding. Hold on. I told Justin I'd text him. Raid. There. That should be clear. Oh, you're here, you can do it. Well, I just texted him, so now he'll be confused if you raid, John. I should have just said, hey, John. But yeah, thanks, guys. So we're going to go back, and this time my back will be better. So remember, I won't be here Monday. I take the long weekend to stretch and rest my back, so that on Tuesday we can explode into action, and I'll hopefully be 100%. I'm really close to 100% today, so I'm really excited. So by Tuesday we'll be starting again on Rock Troll, and I'm hoping to finish his base except for the water pour. Reaper John to the rescue, rating, Epic Duck Studios. All right, have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and I will see you bright and early on Tuesday. I may do a stream over the weekend, just a casual one on my own channel. We'll see. Have fun. I'll talk to you later.